This is what the Kremlin has done to many parts of Ukraine. Tens of thousands of Ukrainian civilians have been killed in indiscriminate bombing by the aggressor. However, the Ukrainian people have resisted. The forces of Putin were not strong enough and more men were needed. In September 2022, there was a major conscription drive by the Putin regime in Russia, which managed to force hundreds of thousands of men into the army to fight in his war. The method of conscription was to send a registered letter to the conscript's address with instructions to appear at an army recruitment location at a specified time. As men would often be out when the letter carrier arrived, a new method was introduced. This was to send the instructions via an app which many people have on their mobile phones, which deals with matters related to all citizens, such as healthcare, benefits, taxes, and the like. These apps exist in many countries. Irrespective of whether the future conscript has seen the message or not, according to new rules, the message is considered to be delivered and it is a criminal offence to ignore it. When mobilisation via the app started, many people tried to delete it, but it was no longer possible. Having dealt with the subject of how the authorities deal with conscription, how do they deal with informing the family of deaths? They also have a fail-safe way here too, and one which saves the authorities both time and money. They stop the wages of the conscript. The 23rd of February is the Defender of the Fatherland Day, a day celebrated in parts of the former Soviet Empire as a holiday first celebrated in 1919 to mark the start of the first mass draft into the Red Army in Petrograd and Moscow. Telekanal Zabaikala is based in Chita, a city of some 1/3 of a million people, around 200 kilometers or so to the east of Lake Baikal. This area has a large amount of native ethnic minorities, amongst whom the Kremlin has sought to do its recruiting. In Chita itself, around 90% of the population is of Russian ethnicity. There is a link below to a video published by Telekanal Zabaikala for those of you who can understand Russian. I didn't ask permission to incorporate parts of their video into mine, as I didn't want to put the journalists into a potentially embarrassing situation. On the 31st December 2022, Telekanal Zabaikala went to the home of the Ananin family. The family is made up of Natalia and Mikhail and their 3 sons, and judging by the photographs, a small dog. In September 2022, Mikhail, who was already a veteran of Chechnya, was summoned to appear for conscription into Putin's war in Ukraine. According to his wife, Natalia Ananina, her husband is a patriot, and if he had failed to appear before the mobilisation office, he would have been unworthy of their 3 sons. On the 23rd of January 2023, he informed his wife that the Kremlin aggressors were to attack in the region of Volgodar to the southwest of Donetsk. I'm now paraphrasing from the television interview Natalia Ananina gave in February 2023. My heart somehow told me there was always some kind of anxiety. I started texting on WhatsApp. Well, at first it was like, Misha, hello? But no, not connected. Again, no, nothing there. Then I called a commander. I tried to call a commander, but I couldn't get hold of him either. Well, it's the battle on, there's no time, they've got no communications. They warned me it would be like this. Be patient. I lasted for 2 weeks. Then I got a hold of the commander. He said, I'm in the hospital. It's really bad here. The official advice of the aggressors is to calm down and wait for 2 weeks. Then, after the expiration of this term, one needs to contact the command of the unit in which the fighter serves and then call the hotline of the Ministry of Defense. The Commissioner for Human Rights in the Russian Federation is one Tatiana Moskalkova, and she is the person who deals with missing persons. I suspect that she's rather busy at the moment. However, she does have some commissioners for human rights in the territories which are a part of the Russian Empire. if I may call it that. Nikolai Kilizov is Commissioner for Human Rights in the Trans-Baikal Territory. And now I am quoting, and if you don't believe me, go to the video. There is an operational headquarters which you can also call. You can write an appeal for help in providing search activities. It works very closely with the Ministry of Defence, with the International Red Cross, as well as with representatives of the Ukrainian side. In other words, the Commissioner for Human Rights in the Trans-Baikal Territory is telling Russians to contact the Ukrainians with information about their missing. So, in the meantime, Natalia took up blanket weaving in her spare time. The army, however, did let her know that her husband wouldn't be coming home, but it did it in a rather unusual manner. It just stopped his pay, which was being sent to her. A new news item appeared on Telekanal Zapaikala. In it, Natalia says that she got his pay for January, but in February, all payments stopped. This interview dates to May 2023. She says, I have been without money for my husband for 4 months. I appealed to the Ministry of Defence, military units. I wrote an appeal to the prosecutor's office. I wrote an appeal to the Ombudsman and the Red Cross. All I got in response was a request to wait because they couldn't find my husband. So she went to Rostov-on-Don with his DNA, but no one could help there. Now, as a minor point, perhaps not relevant to this, but it does show the priorities of the aggressor. One cruise missile aimed at an apartment block or a hospital in Ukraine would cost as much as paying this woman her husband's wages, which are in any case due, for the rest of her life. And possibly, depending on the cruise missiles involved, or the type, then it would also potentially pay for her children as well for the rest of their lives. And maybe also for the rest of the dog's life. Here is a video from the Twitter account of Nexta, which comes from Telekanal Zabaikala and has been translated, this time not by me, but by Nexta. A link to the Nexta site is provided below, which is a very reliable source for the English-speaking viewer for information on Russia and Belarus. But before I finish my bit, I would say that if Mikhail had been such a patriot as he claimed to be, then what he would have done was he would have defended the Russian people by doing something against the Russian regime or the Kremlin regime. In fact, what he chose to do was to go off to Ukraine and kill Ukrainian civilians there. And thus, I wonder what his sons will think of him. There's a lot more information about the Ukraine war on this channel.
Меня зовут Ананина Наталья Анатольевна. Я жена мобилизованного Ананина Михаила Николаевича. Мобилизовали моего мужа 22 сентября 2022 года. В зону СВО он отправился 3 ноября. До 24 января он находился на связи. 24 января муж отправился в наступление на Угледар. С тех пор муж считается без вести пропавшим. За январь месяц мне приходила зарплата за него, и боевые с февраля месяца прекратили всякие выплаты. То есть и как без вести пропавший, и как воюет он там или нет, денег никаких не поступает. 4-й месяц я нахожусь без денежного довольствия мужа, и я обращалась в Министерство обороны, обращалась в ЕРЦ, обращалась в воинские части, писала обращение в прокуратуру и писала обращение уполномоченным по правам человека и в Красный Крест. Но ответы приходили, что ждите, что не можем его найти, что числится без вести пропавший. Ну, это все понятно, но 4-й месяц нет никаких выплат за него и ничего не известно. Я уже даже летала в Ростов в центр, отвозила лично ДНК туда. Никто ничего не знает. Я прошу помочь мне в моей проблеме.